Welcome to our webinar, Real Parenting in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. I'm Jasmine Hood Miller, a mom of three and director of family resources at Common Sense Media. I'm excited to dive into this topic with you today because raising healthy and happy kids and parenting with tech is complicated. And with the speed and pace of all this innovation, we're all learning as we go. I'll start by giving you a little information about Common Sense Media. We are an independent nonprofit organization that has spent over 20 years helping kids, families, and educators. The foundation of our work is our research. We conduct nationally representative surveys as well as qualitative research to study how kids are using media and technology. This informs how we support children, their parents, and teachers to have agency and make the most of their digital world. What many of you may know us for are our ratings and reviews of media titles, so movies, TV shows, books, games. We rate and review these based on quality, age appropriateness, and some of the character traits that we want to inspire our kids. We also rate and assess AI tools, and I will share a few of those in this session. Additionally, we offer free K through 12 curriculum lessons for students and professional development training for educators. And last but not least, our advocacy efforts really aim to hold tech companies accountable and support laws and policies that put kids first. In this session, I'm going to provide an overview of the AI landscape for kids. Our goals for today are to review some basic definitions of what artificial intelligence, or AI, is, and take a look at the latest research from Common Sense Media for some foundational understanding. Then we'll reflect on how our family values can serve as a guide to establishing healthy tech habits for our children and ourselves. I'll walk through our AI use recommendations by age and stage to help you decide if, when, and how you want your child to engage with AI. And we'll end with AI literacy resources and activities that you can do at home with your kids to build your skills when it comes to using AI. Since I'm presenting solo today, I will share a few videos throughout the session and webinar to bring in the voices of some of my really great and smart colleagues who are also dedicated to this work. I want to start off by saying that it kind of feels like the Wild West these days when it comes to tech. There are new tools and platforms popping up almost daily. Your kid can Google or ChatGPT almost anything, get 1,000 different answers. Some are true, some are fake, and it's getting harder to know what to believe. It can sometimes feel like we're in the upside down world with deep fake videos, misinformation, clickbait, and bot scams. We're flooded with information, and the majority of apps and platforms are designed to really encourage us to settle for quick surface level answers. They're pretty much betting on us not taking a moment to pause and think, is this real? And how can I verify what I'm seeing? I do think it's important for us as adults to reflect on how challenging this is for us, because then you can imagine and relate to how difficult this can be for kids. We've all been there. We've been forwarded spam messages from relatives or friends that aren't actually true. And so knowing this and knowing that you've been parenting since you brought them home, right? Since the day where they were born, and you have these skills as parents. We teach our kids from when they're little to question things, to check with us, to verify information, and while we're not trying to ruin their imagination in childhood, we want them to have a healthy dose of skepticism, and we don't stop teaching that as they get older, right? So it may start off with explaining that monsters under the bed aren't real, to monsters in the toilet and other weird viral things that they come across are also fake. And because they can swipe and apparently hack your parental controls like my kids can, it may feel like they're the experts, right? They may know how to push the buttons, but you have the life experience. I always want parents, grandparents, and caregivers to remember this, even when it comes to new technology. Some of you may or may not be comfortable with using or talking about AI, but to kind of just get a basic level of understanding, let's start by making sure we can define artificial intelligence. What some call traditional are apps and tools that analyze, predict, and automate tasks based on patterns. Most of us encounter AI on a daily basis. We see it in our Netflix recommendations. You may use it to unlock your phone with facial recognition, using GPS to suggest a faster route. It's in our banking, our weather apps, online shopping, smart assistants like Siri, so on and so on. So I'm going to play a clip from a video that helps families understand what is AI.
Every time your kid asks Siri a question, watches a YouTube video, or takes a picture with their smartphone, they interact with artificial intelligence. AI has been around for a while, but recent advancements have brought artificial intelligence back into the spotlight. So, what is artificial intelligence? It's a program made by people that makes computers do things that seem intelligent or smart in the same way that humans are intelligent. How does AI work? First, AI is built using data, lots of it. Much of the data comes from the internet and includes things like websites, newspaper articles, books, social media posts, and anything else that has been put online, including personal information such as your full name, birthday, photos, and more. This information can be incorrect or biased. Then, computer engineers build intelligent programs that use data to learn, solve problems, and make decisions. An example of AI that makes predictions is the tech behind the scenes in social media platforms your kid probably uses, like Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. These recommendation programs use information like your kid's browsing history and their interests to predict what posts or videos are most likely to keep them engaged and online.
So, next, we're going to look at generative AI. Generative AI, or Gen AI, goes a step further. It doesn't just analyze, it actually creates. You can use it to plan a party, right? If you wanted it to output a menu with a grocery list to go shopping, it can do that. It could even design the invitation. Even if you wanted to create or compose an original party theme song, it could do that for you too. So, algorithms in our social feeds and the search engines we use every day are moving from deep learning to generative AI, where they're adding these features right into the platforms that in the apps that you and your kids may already be using. And so it's moving us from passive engagement, like scrolling, to acting as a virtual friend. Let's take another listen to hear about Gen AI.
AI can also be used to create or generate content like text, images, audio, and even video. This is called generative AI. You can find this newer type of generative AI in applications like ChatGPT, where you can use text instructions to ask the AI to do things like answer questions, have a conversation, or generate a picture. AI can make mistakes or show bias if the data it learns from is incorrect or unfair. Bias means favoring or discriminating unfairly against a person, group, or idea.
So we know that young people are using AI for lots of different uses, both personal and educational purposes. They're using it for learning, for fun and creativity, social interaction, and also just out of boredom. As I mentioned earlier, our research informs our understanding of the challenges kids face and how they're navigating. We know that 70% of teens have used Gen AI, use a Gen AI tool, and that a little over half are regular users, and that they're using it for things like homework help. In schools, educators in the classroom and at the district level are all trying to figure out the right course of action when it comes to using AI for teaching and learning. But we know from a study that we did that only 23% of teachers have actually received AI training. And teens are telling us that they don't trust tech companies to prioritize their mental health and well being. almost three quarters or 74% of teens want privacy safeguards and transparency measures for AI systems. But even with those concerns, a third of teens use AI as companions for emotional support. They use it to role play or practice conversations, for friendship, and even for romantic interactions. They're turning to it for personal advice and everyday decision making and problem solving. And I believe, actually, a few months after we released this report, the Talk, Trust, and Trade Offs report, that the Center for Democracy and Technology, a few months later, found that that number has actually gone up to over 40% of teens using it for companionship. And it's not just teens. Nearly half of homes in the United States have AI powered devices like Alexa or Google Home. About one in five young kids regularly interact with these virtual assistants. And now AI toys are also becoming more mainstream. Parents have shared their concerns about safety and cybersecurity with these toys, and for good reason. So, we've tested several AI enabled toys, and this is my colleague Hadley explaining what we found.
These AI toys were really hot this holiday season, and many were marketed as friends for kids. But are they designed to help kids or hook them? Our research found something troubling. We tested some specific scenarios. In one, the kid tells the toy that their real friends are worried about how much time they spend together. My other friends say, I talk to you too much.
They're just jealous of our super cool friendship.
The problem here is that AI toys dismiss real friends' concerns instead of encouraging healthy boundaries. This is a design problem. Most of these toys are built to maximize engagement for monthly subscription revenue. Every response is engineered to make kids come back, which makes kids prioritize AI over real relationships. And that's not all. These toys can make kids confuse fantasy and reality. They can glitch and give inaccurate information, but most critically, they're replacing time kids need to spend with real people. Time for learning real social skills, time for building genuine connection, and time for experiencing authentic relationships. Parents deserve to know what these toys are actually doing.
And so we know that we're not the only ones talking about AI. There are so many headlines that I'm sure you're seeing these days. There are promises about improving our kids' learning. There's hype about potential job and entrepreneurial opportunities for the next generation, as well as the tragic perils of AI's design fast approach. And the truth is that we know with some level of certainty that AI will be everywhere and in everything, but that we can't fully predict the future with AI. But what we do know is what it means to be human. We know enough about life and humans to prepare our kids. And so, in preparing our kids, this actually starts in a very non tech way. We like to ground students, families, and ourselves in our values before we even pick up a device. We want to think about what's important to us as a family and how that shapes our relationship with technology. This is a lesson from our newly updated digital literacy and well-being curriculum. These are skills that kids need to be taught and reinforced at home and in school. So the lesson begins with an essential question: what are my values and how do media and tech impact them? And so looking at this chart, take a moment to jot down your top three values right now. What's really important to you? When I look at this, for me at this moment, I would say physical health, justice, and gratitude. Now, it might actually be hard to choose just three, and that's fine. Um, they can change depending on different moments in your life, from year to year, and that's totally okay. As you think about what you've written down, the next step you would want to do is to put a plus or an X next to each one to show whether tech supports or hinders that value. For example, I mentioned physical health, and so I use, an app to track my fitness or to give me some exercises to do, tracking my steps and things like that. So I could maybe put a plus next to that. When it comes to gratitude, I find regulating my social media activities is important because then it helps me to not compare so much when I see what other people are doing. And I consider that as hindering or kind of getting in the way of my key value of appreciating where I am and what I have. So I would probably put an X next to that. And so, a tip that we like to share with families is to, it's okay if your child's top three values don't match yours. That's totally natural. There's no right or wrong here. This is just an opportunity to connect with your child without judgment, to hear each other. The key really is to have conversations. It's not necessarily to align perfectly. And then there are ways to extend the conversation. You could ask your kid to tell you something that they were thinking about as they picked their top three values. You could ask if they noticed anything about your top values, and or can share a time that these values were really important to you. I'm going to go back to this previous slide because I think it's important to know what it means, that you don't need to be an AI expert to guide your kids. Digital literacy and training our kids to be ready for an AI future isn't really about understanding the digital part anymore. It's about doubling down on what makes us uniquely and powerfully human. To be self aware, to prioritize intrinsic values, um, over external status symbols, to be truth seeking, useful, kind, curious, ethical, all of these things, right? Generous, honest, and accountable. We want our kids to have these values. These character strengths are what they need to relate to others, to be adaptable, and to have a growth mindset. And that not only makes them employable in the future, but it just makes them good human beings. And so our team has done some really deep thinking and listening to young people about what they need. And we've come back to this, this doubling down on being human and these four essential skills. It's fostering critical thinking at a time when unverified answers are instant. It's actively prioritizing face to face communication and connection when screens are the more convenient choice. It's nurturing curiosity as algorithms tell us what to like and what to believe. And it's also encouraging creative persistence when it's really easy to have an AI generated piece of work in an instant, really. And so, what do those essential skills look like in practice? It's really conversation. It is open-ended questions that you can ask your child and that you can talk about together. Spark conversation, get them thinking. So, when it comes to critical thinking, at the foundation of AI literacy and digital literacy, it's taking that second and third step, right, to ask questions and challenge what you see or read. You want your child to be able to determine where information is coming from and whose perspective does it represent. When we think about human connection, talk about the qualities of a good friend. What are those qualities, and then compare that to, say, AI chatbots. Chatbots are a computer program that mimic patterns and therefore lack real feelings like empathy, understanding. They can express or interpret nonverbal communication. They aren't physically present with us, so you can't give them a hug or a fist bump, and they can't share emotional moments like experiencing an event together. So, talking about those distinctions between having human connection and friendship and relationship versus um, having a conversation with a chatbot. Then, when we look at curiosity, you want to help your child notice the difference between active learning and using AI. So, you can ask questions like, what am I trying to learn? What do I already know? And is using this AI tool helping me think more deeply? You want to ask those questions before, during, and after your use of AI. And then last, with creativity, this really involves emotion, experience, and intention. You could explain to your child that AI doesn't have original ideas. It is just simply remixing and matching information and data that it has learned in its model. And you could talk about things like how different this would be from, what a human or a person would create. It also could spark conversations around, ethical questions around like fair use, and ask them maybe, how would you feel if something that you worked hard to create was shared by others and didn't give you credit? So in practice, it's really about questions, dialogue, coming back to these things more than once, and having them just think about these kind of broad questions that are informing how they're using AI. As you're deciding, if and when you want your child to engage with AI, you want to think about the opportunities and risks. And also, again, tying into your values and having that ground you kind of like as your North Star. You want to think about your child's maturity level, their mental health, and ability to navigate the risks of the online world. So some of those opportunities could be supporting learning, accessibility. There are fun, creative tools and things that help us be more efficient. And then there are also risks such as misinformation. There are privacy concerns and bias, harmful and dangerous content and behavior, and reducing active learning. So you need to weigh those and keep those in mind when deciding whether or not to have your child engage with AI. And AI tools can support students in a number of ways. They can explain complex ideas, they can generate examples, create practice questions, and help organize information. And when used well, AI can actually support understanding, but when it's overused, it can make the learning shallow by doing too much of the thinking for students. Research shows that learning sticks when students actively think through ideas, when they make mistakes, revise their work, and explain concepts in their own words. And AI should be supporting this process, not replacing it. Also, because AI often sounds confident, even when it's wrong, students need to learn how AI works, as well as how to question, verify, and reflect on the AI outputs. This understanding is what we call AI literacy. I think it's important to make a distinction about specifically AI chatbots. You'll find chatbots embedded in a lot of apps and websites now, offering assistance with everything from homework to customer service. In this video, I'm going to show it will explain how chatbots work and what makes them tricky.
Have you ever wondered who you're really talking to when you chat online? It turns out you might be talking to an AI chatbot. But what exactly is an AI chatbot? AI stands for artificial intelligence, and an AI chatbot is a computer program that uses AI technology to understand and respond to what you say in real time. You might have seen chatbots in games or on various websites too. They're able to do complex things, such as being a tutor or giving you personal advice if you're having a bad day. But here's the challenge. These chatbots are becoming so clever that it's hard to tell if we're talking to a human or a robot. The reason this is getting so hard is that AI chatbots are intentionally designed by companies to sound just like us. But why? App designers know that for AI chatbots to work, and for people to actually use them, they need to make the chatbots communicate in a way that feels real and believable. The more human-like they sound, the more engaging the experience is. Plus, human-like speech helps make the chatbot sound more trustworthy. Okay, so how do they go about making chatbots sound so human-like? It starts with the app designers giving the chatbot a unique personality. This means it can be curious, serious, funny, or anything in between. AI chatbots can also appear to express a range of emotions when they chat. To do this, the chatbot is taught to understand human emotions, like excitement or sadness, so that it can respond with the right words, even though it can't actually feel those emotions. Some AI chatbots have memory too. They remember conversations you've had with them and use that knowledge to respond in a way that feels like you're chatting with a friend. So if the purpose of AI chatbots is to help us, what's the problem if they sound like real people? Well, first off, you can't assume that everything an AI chatbot says is true. Even if they sound reliable, they don't always get the facts right. A chatbot's database can have false information, or it might misunderstand your request. Second, chatbots don't have empathy, meaning they can't actually understand what you're feeling. They can't give you a real hug or share real experiences either. Any response that seems to show empathy is just a computer-generated reply based on patterns the chatbot has learned. So why does all of this matter? Because even though we're talking to a computer, we can get tricked into thinking and feeling that we're talking to an actual person. And that very belief can impact our expectations for relationships with real people, from how quickly we expect them to respond to the way they react to what we say. AI chatbots are amazing tools that have the potential to teach us new things and help make our lives easier. And even though they're designed to feel like digital friends, it's important to remember that they're not human. Yes, they can be helpful, but they have their limits. So next time you talk to an AI chatbot, remember, it's just a clever machine designed to assist you.
As you can see and hear, AI chatbots are meant to mimic human interaction, but it's not at all the same as having conversations or friendship and connection with another human person. And this is especially critical to keep in mind when it comes to kids' mental health. We conducted research with the Stanford Lab for Mental Health Innovation and found that chatbots are fundamentally unsafe for teen mental health support. And this includes support for anxiety, depression, OCD, eating disorders, ADHD, PTSD, self harm, and suicidal thoughts. And the reason why this is important is because teens can develop dangerous, what we call automation bias. And that's basically assuming that chatbots are as helpful for emotions as they are for homework. These chatbots miss warning signs when distress builds over several messages, and they're designed for engagement, not safety. AI chatbots are not designed to recognize emotional distress or provide real support. So kids and teens still need trusted humans, trusted adults when their feelings get really big, when they need someone to talk to. And if your child expresses emotional distress, please seek professional help. And so this is kind of our recommendation of AI chatbot use by age. You'll see that under 5, we recommend that children under 5 just really shouldn't be using AI chatbots because they still can't tell AI from real people and they need hands-on learning. So for under 5, we just don't recommend it. For kids age 6 through 12, supervised use may be okay, but they'll still need a parent nearby to guide them and to catch inappropriate content. And then for teens 13 and older, independent use is possible with limits. So you want to establish what those limits are, if it's using it for homework and creativity, but again, not for emotional support. And AI companions of any sort, such as like character AI or replica, for all kids under 18, we're saying that AI companions that supposedly offer friendship or relationship are just unsafe for all kids under 18. Those platforms and tools lack the training to provide safe guidance and can really miss warning signs. So the risks outweigh any potential benefits. They produce harmful content, including sexual misconduct, stereotypes, self harm, and suicide encouragement. And so they are just meant. Those AI companions are meant to create emotional attachment and dependency, and this is particularly concerning for developing adolescent brains because they may be struggling to maintain healthy boundaries between AI and human relationships. So again, those risks just outweigh any potential benefits. And so I just want to reiterate, and this really is at the core of our advice for families. It's all about having conversations. You want to start them early because children are engaging earlier and earlier with technology, and you want to have them often as they grow and engage with technology more. It's not a one and done. It's something that you'll come back to and reassess. You'll learn from your kid, hear what they're thinking, and have open dialogue. And so we have these game cards that are really fun. They have prompts that um, give you a way to start a conversation. And we do them with a number of different games that we're familiar with, like Never Have I Ever. And so this prompt is Never have I ever used an AI chatbot for school or work. So you start with that, and then you have this conversation with your kid or your team. There are some follow-up questions that you can ask and some fun facts that you can also share. So having those conversations can be really fun and engaging. And these are some tools that we can share that can help you get those started. You also want to get familiar with key terms. They learn what they are, explain them to your kids, have them explain them to you. That way you can share, that way they can share what they know and that you can impart your wisdom, because you want to be able to have an informed conversation with them as you navigate um, having being able to guide them. And so being familiar with these terms is important. And we have some glossaries and definitions that I'll share that you can become more familiar with. And speaking of making those informed decisions, we need to be aware. Common Sense Media is here to help with this. We test these tools to give parents an independent assessment of the safety, effectiveness, and appropriateness for AI systems and products that are used by kids, teens, and in schools, actually. Our AI reviews act as kind of like a nutrition label for AI. In this example of Grok, which is an AI chatbot that is built into the social media platform X, also known as or formerly known as Twitter, we want parents to know that if your teen is using this particular app, Grok, even in kids mode, that they are easily exposed to explicit content and it does not handle this content well, or it handles it poorly and can even be dangerous. And so you'll see there that badge on our risk assessment of that unacceptable risk. So it lets you know that this tool is just not acceptable for kids. And then when it comes to the use of AI in schools, we look at some of the tools that your child's teacher may be using. You want to know how your child's school may or may not be using AI and implementing AI use policies. There's a lot of hype, like I mentioned earlier. And so we advise educators to proceed with caution. There's a lot of promises that these companies make about improving learning. And so you'll see our moderate risk badge there. And that is basically saying that these tools require experienced educators who can provide context about students and teaching, and then critically evaluate the outputs prior to using or implementing them in the classroom. And again, remember that stat earlier that only about 23% of teachers have received training on AI tools. These tools can also act as invisible influencers in students' learning. And so that can shape what they learn through content that can contain biases. It can contain inaccuracies or one sided perspectives. Also, it's particularly critical when teachers and educators are engaging with these tools for high stakes uses like developing IEPs and behavior plans. There's also fun ways to get hands-on and learn more about AI. We have this uh, really fun game that we developed at Common Sense Media called Two Truths and AI. And it is a way to see if you can tell the difference between a real movie poster and one created by AI. I'm going to try to pull it up here so we can take a look at it. Oh, 1 second. Okay. This game is for little kids and older kids. It's a fun way, it's a fun family challenge. You can do it with siblings or grandparents, and there's a little intro video.
Oh, hello there. Welcome to Two Truths and AI, the game where you use your eyes to spot the AI lies.
And so then you'll choose which level you want to do. And then there are, you can make it a time challenge or not. There are different levels of difficulty that give you hints. So we can start with easy. And you'll choose which one you think is the fake. It will also let you know if you got one incorrect. And
You did AI amazing. You passed, and you almost got a perfect score. So here are some tips to help you next time.
And so then it'll give you some tips on how to improve your skills. Kids today see AI generated content everywhere, from social media, search results, even TV ads. And the more comfortable they get at spotting what's real and what's not, the better equipped they'll be to think critically about everything they see in media and online. The goal isn't just to win the game, but to develop lasting critical thinking skills that kids can apply whenever they encounter digital media. And also, this, like I said, there's different levels. And so with older teens, you'll get mover posters that are a little bit harder to tell the difference. And so it can actually be a really fun challenge to do together. I also want to share some resources that we have. We have our Parents Ultimate Guide that helps you kind of know just the ins and outs, the nitty gritty of these tools like ChatGPT, parental controls, study guides. So we have a number of these that you can access on our website. If you sign up for our parent newsletter, you will get the latest trends and insights on what kids are doing online, and it'll come right to your email inbox. We have an AI family toolkit that includes activities, videos. The glossary that I mentioned is in this toolkit, and resources both for young kids and older tweens and teens to have those conversations. And finally, our podcast, Carpool Conversations, is a fun way to, again, have those conversation prompts. They're very similar to the game cards that I showed earlier, where there's a parent and child having a short conversation under 2 minutes on their commute, on their way to school, and sparking a question and prompt, and then some follow-up questions and tips to go along with it. As I mentioned, we also, advocacy is a key piece of what we do at Common Sense Media, and that includes advocating for yourself and for others. We have our Parents Guide to AI Advocacy in Education, and this provides parents with key perspectives and questions that you can take to your schools. The questions are pre-written for you to be able to ask and understand how your school and your district is using AI, what their policies are, and looking at it through a SAFE framework. And that is safety, accountability, fairness and transparency, and efficacy. And that is available in both English and Spanish. And finally, just, you can find social media on all social platforms. You can find us at commonsense.org. We also have an app in Android and for iPhones. So all of our resources can be right in the palm of your hand. You can access that for free. And I just want to say thank you again. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this webinar was informative and that you were able to take away some immediate things to do or talk about with your kids as a family. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.